Bannerlord can be a brutally hard game. Often you're outnumbered and massive armies march against you. Well, in this new series, we're going to work together, friends. What I want you to do is send me your difficult situations that you're either currently encountering in Bannerlord in your campaign, or something that you've dealt with in the past where you're just unable to solve it. I will do my very best to handle these difficult situations. I will share the results on YouTube, provided they have some kind of educational value for people. We will take on these difficult challenges, do some battlefield analysis, and hopefully help you turn around a very, very difficult battle. So join me on this adventure. Please send me your difficult situations. Have a little patience. I don't know how many there are going to be, but I'm willing to take these challenges on for you fellas as we handle your disasters of war. Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related. Welcome back to another episode of our Disaster of War series, where we collaborate with you fellas. You fellas, ladies, send in your difficult save situations and we will do our best to solve it. Now this is episode 2. You'll definitely want to watch episode 1 to understand what happened, but a 10-second recap is essentially, this guy sent me his save game captured by a huge sturgeon force. No fiefs, no army, no troops, a real disaster situation, a couple 100,000 gold, and we have slowly been rebuilding his situation. Now, still no fiefs. Right, when you go into the fief menu, no settlement selected because we don't have any. We're starting to hemorrhage money. In the previous episode, we won a few battles. In fact, we captured Ragenvad. We still have to decide whether or not to sell him, probably sell him back. It depends on how much money they will give us for him. We need money, and we've picked up a few companions here. Originally, Sean, the guy that was playing this save game, may or may not slip the email in here for you. Sometimes I forget. He basically was trying a hell mode sturgeon campaign. He declared a kingdom way too early. No offense, Sean. We're here to help you fellas. It looks like he had very few possessions and not a lot of resources, and he had intentionally handicapped himself. In addition to Iron Man and playing on Bannerlord difficulty, which is about as hard as way as you can play, he was also not allowing himself a horse, not allowing himself any bows, not allowing himself to smith, not allowing, etc., etc. He had to play backwards with somebody punching him in the back of the ear repeatedly. Evidently, all of those things conspired to get him captured. So, we've not hired anybody to punch us in the back of the ear. We'll skip that part, but we do have some of the other handicaps that he was playing with. Now, let's see what we're going to... 20,000 they're going to give us for Ragenvad. We don't have a fief. We have no way to make money other than ransoms and gear. And we can't execute him right now anyways. So let's just sell him. We'll take the 25 grand. That almost adds 50% to our total funds. We have decked out these companions with some serviceable equipment, but we're still looking to upgrade. We have some tier 4, tier 5 armor, tier 3 here. We need to get our main character. His main character is a female. Eliaksha, we'll call her. We could put that helmet on her, right? That's a birth control helmet. Guaranteed to not get pregnant if she wears that. That's got to be the ugliest helmet in the game. I think we'll just hope for drops as we continue with this campaign. Now, I don't know why we get an autosave 2 minutes into this. We are on Iron Man though, right? So we only have the one save game. I don't know how that works with autosave. I presume you still only have one save game. Of course, that means we don't get 2 shots at this, right? We get 1 shot and we're not going to be save scumming, right? You can't save scum with the Iron Man. So let's be smart with our decisions here, but we're developing a pretty tough army. We got some tier 4, 5, and even a few tier 6 units. And we've got a good-sized army because, again, we continue to run over the maximum. This guy is his own kingdom. It's important to remember that, even though it kind of looks like he's a vassal since he has no possessions. Eliaksha has, Sean's character does have a kingdom of his own. He just doesn't have a possession, right? So we're a king without a home here. We're a homeless guy. So we've got all these low-level troops. We're sort of hemorrhaging troops left and right. Want to make sure we have the best. He's basically the best at most of the roles he does in the party. I'd usually suggest you have a specialized scout, but he's got an infantry spec here with some athleticism and very strong, very high vigor and one-handed. So we'll be able to level up that some. We are playing the beta. This is the beta version of Bannerlord. And we're going to continue to slowly try to upgrade this army. One of the ways we can do it, of course, is fighting villagers. Although at this stage, most of the villagers won't fight us, right? They'll just say, whatever you want, take it, right? We have 200 and something troops. Most villagers won't fight. Now, a couple things that are prioritized early on here. We want a fief. I want a home, right? We're homeless. So we're going to take it by force. Of course, that was the medieval way. Let's fight this here. I want to show you guys a super easy way to upgrade, much better than auto-resolving. And we do have the RTS mod, right? So not only can we give you guys the overhead view here, but this will result in probably triple or quadruple the upgrades with less casualties than auto-resolve. In fact, maybe we'll auto-resolve a village battle here 10 minutes from this and we can compare the two. All I've done here is put cavalry wings out like we normally do, shield walled on the sides. We've got a little tiny infantry square in the middle. We've got the 4th and 5th archer divisions and then the 6th skirmishers, and it goes left to right, 4, 5, 6, right? So cavalry over there. Unfortunately, the new RTS mod is not quite as easy to see the battlefield, so that's why I'm trying to explain it here. So the 4th and 5th, we're just going to move these guys forward here, and what I'm trying to show you is a battle where all you have to do is position. You don't actually have to move your units much, right? We can charge with our cavalry once their infantry gets closer. Obviously, this is a battle we never lose. And you can certainly just skip this step, but let's just compare for efficiency's sake the difference, right? We want every single crossbow and little Santa hat dipshit archer shooting, because if they shoot and do damage and or get kills, they become a better Santa hat, archer, right? These little sturgeon archers eventually will become sturgeon veteran archers and do some real damage. Now, lots of targets here, right? Half the guys don't have a shield, so our archers are very excited here. They will attack and kill your cavalrymen, right? They'll swing scythes and pitchforks at them and stuff like that. So what I typically do, it's about the only movement you need to do, is basically have those guys charge once the enemy closes. Besides that, we have shields out in front. The archers are working. It looked like we just suffered a casualty. I don't know how that happened. Maybe someone got a lucky shot on a horse. And now that their infantry reaches the cav line here, you don't want them to stand in place. They're a lot more vulnerable. I like to just charge. It's less about them doing damage and more about them surviving. Now, I don't even need to move the skirmishers there. You could certainly pull them back or charge at them. We're just going to play this battle out now, right? We've done the necessary steps. There's a death. Okay, that was the first death. And that might be it, right? One death. Indeed, one death and 51 upgrades. There's virtually no way that an auto-resolve is going to do that well. Obviously, it would have to not only have all the upgrades, but have less than one death, right? Which would be 0. I don't think that's ever going to be the case. So it's very simple to set up. Maybe in real time without the RTS mod. See if anybody needs this piece of armor. Maybe that takes you 2 minutes, 3 minutes to do that whole battle, and you upgrade a huge amount of troops. That's the name of the game right now, because we're about to fight very powerful armies, or at least lots and lots of enemy forces, right? We have 200 and something. We're going to end up fighting 400, 500, 600 here, because that's all we have, right? And the enemy has heaps and heaps of resources. We want to take these sturgeons captive. And let's also do a deserter check here, 24. We have 29 ghetto units, tier 1 units, basically. Let's see how many of them desert here. I've been talking about this extensively. Okay, we just lost 8 of our 29. Let's see. Hopefully it's all of the weakest troops here. Where are they at? Here, 16, 17, 21. Exactly, right? And so I continue to illustrate this for you players. Guys are like, oh shit, man, you're suffering deserters. You have too many troops. Again, just to reemphasize, if you're 30 over and you have 30 extra recruits that you get from a village, or maybe you get 30 extra militia, and you suffer 10 deserters at night, you still have 20 extra troops, right? And in a battle, that could be the difference at this stage between winning and losing. That's an enormous advantage for you fellas. So it does make you a little bit slower on the campaign map. You want to keep that in mind. And here's your example. 23 upgrades, so half the upgrades, and 10 casualties. So 10 times the casualties of our battle where we fought it, and half the upgrades. Hopefully both of those points are convincing all you folks to follow along those couple tips. They're small things, but they mean a lot, right? The upgrades especially are important. Because 50 upgrades, maybe that's 30 more Fiends. And then the next battle, it's 30 more Fiend champions, right? All right, so another looter check just to put this one to bed. 40 total recruits and tier 1 units and over. We'll see the deserters the next time this happens. Don't worry, I'm not actually sieging here. I'm just kicking the hornet's nest. And there, we just lost 11. Right, so 40, 11. We should have 29, although hold everything, right? I'm gonna... Oh shit, well, we're engaged, but that's okay, right? This is exactly what I was just talking about. By the way, this is a great location to fight battles in a situation like this. I know the maps of Bannerlord very well. You guys will have to experience them or come by the channel on a regular basis. Of course, we give tips on where to fight. This is a superb spot because we're very likely going to have bridges here. If you have bridges against an enemy where you're outnumbered, you're virtually playing like the Spartans did, right? Where you're fighting them in an area in a landscape where they can't bring their numbers to bear. And this is perfect. We have basically a perfect spot. Now, we're still going to use strategy and tactics here, right? We don't just want to pour across the bridge and fight an open field battle. They attacked us in the campaign map. That means they must come attack us now in the battle map, and we're going to take advantage of that. We've got plenty of cavalry. We'll take a look at our infantry in a second, but what you want to do with the bridge is jam it up so that the enemy can't pour through all their troops, right? If they pour through all their troops, then the battle's over, right? Because we're so badly outnumbered. And I want a crossbow division. How come there's a bunch of infantry in there or something? Is that what I'm seeing? What am I looking at here? I want to have 3 archer divisions. I'm going to have a high-level 7th division. The 5th division will be kind of our lower-level archers, and I want this 4th division. Okay, the 7th is operating as intended. The 4th division I want to be a crossbow division, or more accurately, you know, a division with guys with shields. There's infantry in here for some reason. I think. What am I looking at here? Guy with the spear, guy with javelins. So sometimes this happens. If it happens to you, reset the button like that and then stir it over. And usually it looks like it's now fixed. So our 4th division, it's still putting in little scrubby archers. I'm not sure why. We got shields on there. High level maybe. This system is suboptimal. We talk about it all the time. It's worth spending a minute pre-battle in a battle like this where you could lose and get captured, lose your whole army, to make sure that guys are in the right army. The reason I want the 4th division to have these shields, and it doesn't... Oh shit, here we go. I didn't have it selected to shields. The reason I want them, there we go, to have those shields is those guys will run out of ammo way before your other archers. So the knowledge of that allows me to use them defensively as a square, charge the bridge, whatever it might be. I don't want archers to charge. Now our 1st division is like 40 peasants. Those peasants I mentioned earlier, we're still going to use them though, right? We're going to have them charge. We can have their carcasses and the bodies of these dead peasants clog up the bridge. The enemy's going to be tripping on their organs and their blood spattered all over the place. That'll help, right? We're going to tell these guys, we need you to bleed all over the place on this bridge so that the enemy falls down. Any volunteers? Oh, no? Oh, well, too bad. You're going in anyways, right? The beauty of a game like this is you get to play the tyrannical despot. All right, so they're incredibly infantry heavy, which is very common against the Sturgeons. It's a virtually perfect situation for farming. So I've got a cav division over on this right side, and I'm doing that in a shield wall to protect some archers. If you put archers behind a cav wall, what happens is a lot of those cavalry get shot by the enemy archers instead of your archers. Right, which is a huge advantage for us, right? The cavalrymen will hold up their shields and sort of protect the archers as they shoot. Now we'll do some zoom-ins here. This is the 2nd Cav Division, and all I want them doing is jamming up the bridge. So we're actually going to dismount them, but first, let's put all their horses, right? We're volunteering their horses here to Odin, to Mars, choose your god of war. We'll put him out here, and then once they're in position, we're going to dismount these guys, turn them into a square, basically behind their horses, so that the enemy kind of runs into horses here, runs into this now infantry group, and then the skirmishers right here. See this line of green? It's a little hard to see, but that's going to be our skirmisher division. We have about 25 skirmishers, 29 skirmishers. Some of them aren't skirmishers, but most of those guys have javelins and throwing axes. They're a little bit offset to the side. That way they can fire javelins in, and look at that, right? Our men are basically surrounded by horses. So even throwing axes that are coming in from the enemy, they're hitting horses instead of our men. Thank you. Man's best friend is not a dog, it's a horse. All right, so our 1st division The best use for them here is actually charging at this stage. You see all these raggedy bearded peasants? By charging, what they do is they clog all the little holes and openings where the enemy might be getting through. Now I still don't have a friendly thing above our units here. In fact, we're getting multiple bugs. This happened the first episode. You'll just have to bear with me here. You see how our units don't have the friendly button until I select them? I've gone in, I thought, and changed the setting a couple, 3 times, but for whatever reason, it's not showing our troops, and I'm getting pushed into the ground here. One of the beta versions updated for me voluntarily. And what I mean by that is, of course, some guys understand I'm going back and forth between the 1.2 and 1.3, and it upgraded sort of without me realizing it. And there are some bugs evidently present with it. By now, they're probably fixed by the time you're watching this. Anyways, just bear with me here. So we can't tell who's friend and foe. We're kind of struggling here, but I don't think it's going to matter. The enemy's now attacking that infantry division. It used to be cavalry. Now it's infantry. It's in a square, and the enemy's haplessly attacking it while they get shredded by javelins. The enemy's like disappearing here too. I'm disappearing. It's really jarring. Sorry about this. Maybe we'll reload in between episodes, or I can just not fight. We can let our skirmishers do the fighting here. But the enemy's jammed up something fierce on the bridge. Our skirmishers are working. These guys will soon be out of javelins. We can have them charge. They're gaining levels. Over on the left, we've got our crossbow. Remember I said they can charge? They're out of ammo, so they now become very solid infantry. We've got the 7th and 5th Division. Both of these archers have a lot of ammo left, right? You can see the little white bar over there on the left, or on the right. That's how much ammo they have. The cavalry can be told to charge. Now, all of our units, except the archers, are going berserk, jamming up the bridge. And we've got our archers pulled back, basically to kill anything that sneaks through. Again, I apologize for these little tiny UI differences, but hopefully my explanation of all these things makes it pretty clear what we're doing here. What we're doing is annihilating this enemy force. You can see the power bar up top. We're already favored, right? We're just racking up the skill points. My main character's almost dead here. We can just run around in the back here with the RTS mod fizzing green as the enemy gets exterminated. Now this is 3 Sturgeon forces, and they just melted on our defenses here. We're not even going to have half of our forces injured. And look at the upgrades, right? How many times have I mentioned that? That's one of our big goals. 142 upgrades, and the battle's not over. There's going to be more, right? And critically, a lot of these units are going to survive, right? If you get upgrades and they die, you don't get the upgrades, right? A dead upgraded troop is still dead. 143 upgrades, that is tasty. Over half of our army survived. A huge amount of influence and renown and some other shit. Gold pours in. Your ego gets a little bit bigger. Even our recruits had a bunch of upgrades. The hardened crossbow are upgraded to sharpshooters. It's basically every single positive thing that can happen to you. A bunch of prisoners, all of those guys will be able to sell. And it's slow, but very slowly we are kicking the shit out of the Sturgeons and reestablishing dominance here for Sean. Okay, pick up some Sturgeon prisoners. We're at our maximum. I'm famous for overstocking prisoners. I guess we can dump. You don't want to have 10 of one unit. You want to have like 3, 4, 5, unless it's a unit you love, maybe. And of course, you want to try not to be over the maximum because that will slow you down on the campaign map. All right. Lots and lots more upgrades, right? It's just pouring, absolutely pouring in. And, you know, we don't need to do all this equipment. I don't really want to bore you guys with all the equipment. As you can see, it's simply raining in good equipment here. Legendary this, legendary that. It's kind of amazing, right? We upgrade our helm very, very quickly. Not only are we making leaps and bounds of gains here, but we're getting rich, right? We're going to be able now to go to a friendly town and sell all these. And it's tempting to try to get at least one more battle here, right? What I plan on doing is going to Diathma or maybe some other city as more Sturgeons slam their dick into the car door here. I mean, they're going to get blasted. You already seen it. It might be a little different battlefield, but it really doesn't matter where they fight us. With this army that we've built with some tactics, all of these battles where the power bar slightly favors the enemy, it means they're all dead, right? So it does give me a brief opportunity to show you more tactics. This battlefield I know very well. I've fought here several times. very similar, right? It's very slightly different, right? So we'll do some of the same things. I'll talk about it, but we're also going to blaze through this battle. I won't spend as much time on this one as the previous one. Again, that 3rd division over there to protect the archers. The enemy archers come up, and the AI archers have a tendency to shoot at whoever's closest. So the concept there is cavalry out in front of a shield wall. Even if it doesn't intercept shots aimed for the archers, a lot of the archers on the other side are going to aim for our cavalrymen holding up their shield on an armored horse. I like that, right? That's a positive outcome for us. Now, I've got almost no infantry this battle. Again, we'll use this cavalry. I don't think we're going to need it, though, right? We've got 2 different cav divisions. That 3rd is back in a line. I'll show you that up close here again as we have another beautiful landscape. I'm so sure of victory here. We're going to sip our coffee. In fact, let's get some caffeine here. Just like that colonel, that wicked colonel on Avatar. We'll sip our coffee here while we destroy the natives and cut down their tree. Whatever that scene was. All right, so we've got skirmishers here. There's not very many. We're really low on some units from that first battle. We have plenty of archers, though. We've got this shield wall square, or it's a square there. It's basically, they're both. This cav line here is designed to slow down and intercept enemy cavalry. You see their enemy cavalry comes up and attacks that line. Much better than attacking our archers, right? We don't want them steamrolling our archers, getting by. They tend to get bottled up. The enemy's coming in very hesitatingly. It's almost like they heard what happened 2 minutes before at the previous battlefield. They're like, I heard bad things happened here, as I continue to get pushed into the netherworld by whatever bug this is. Fortunately, it's not game breaking. I'm not really fighting anyways. You guys are here for the tactics. You don't want to see me blunder about with Sean's character. Back in the square up, right into the hail of darts, skirmishers. This cav line, look at how beautiful. It's just intercepting everything. And nothing's really even attacked. Oh shit. That was very quick. Nothing's really even attacking our archers. Everybody stand still. But look at the power bar. Glance at the top there, fellas. This battle's way over. It's not sort of over, right? The enemy is decimated. We have 90. I mean, decimated actually is 10% casualties. The enemy's annihilated already, right? They have suffered dire losses here. They got a dipshit with the flag. He can catch a spear, a javelin right in the back. I still can't tell a friend from foe. We'll have to investigate this. In fact, I think I might even try to downgrade to the previous beta version, right? Whatever version we're on here. What's happening here? Oh shit. This button is usually clicked. Evidently it got clicked off. Must be like an update or something. Always show there we go. So never mind. That bug wasn't me. For sure the bug shoving me into the netherworld every time I get bumped by a horse. That's a bug. But there you go. 50 more upgrades and 3 deaths. It's basically Battlefield Nirvana. Sharpshooters are now upgraded all the way to the top tier of Valandian crossbow. Now we have Fiend champs. Now we get even more troops. I just won the lottery. I looked down. In fact, I have the winning numbers right here. Yep, 16, 54. Right. So we basically just every single possible good thing has happened for us. And even more good loot. It just pours in here. Now, this army chasing us, I think they're going to engage. This sure looks like active engaging territory. That's fine, right? We're slouching again in our chair. Don't slouch, you poor kids, you young guys that are slouching and shit like that. Watch your posture. You guys are all going to end up like Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's amazing how many young people these days I see all slumped over their phone. You're going to have back problems. Please try to correct it. I say that out of love, not out of like, you know, I'm not the accusatory dad or uncle or something like that. All right, so another Sturgeon force here, ready to smash their face into our unbeatable army. I think we would have to fight 600 at this stage to really be pressed. With the army we have, it's not just the army we have, of course, it's the tactics too, but when you use these units intelligently, you just obliterate everything in sight. Now, it's a foggy, sort of misty battlefield. I like these weather effects. These are some more of the effects that are coming with the beta 1.3. Take a little closer examination of our army here. I like to, you know, when you get a situation like this, zoom in a little bit, look at and get some nice armored cavalry here, some good looking archers. I see a bunch of Fiend champs now. Now, some guys might say, wow, you're just spamming Fiend champs. You're right. You're absolutely right. But we have no fiefs, no army, no troops, at least for a little bit. And I mentioned it in the first episode. we're going to play whatever the game allows, right? And then at some point or other, if we do 5-6 episodes of this campaign for Sean, then maybe what we'll do is shift to an all Sturgeon army and park some of these Fiend Champs in a garrison somewhere. That way, all the guys who decry us using Fiend Champs, as if it's like, I'm going to have a knock on my door. Chris Hansen's going to be like, how old was she? That girl was 14, and you motherfucker using Fiend Champs? Come with us, man. Unbelievable. That's a triple felony. You're molesting little kids, and you're collecting Fiend Champs in your Bannerlord army. Unbelievable. What a disgrace, right? So I'm going to use them here, and we'll leave the 14-year-olds alone. Sorry if anybody's distressed by that or actually has abuse in your family, or maybe you were abused. I try to stay light on the channel here, and that's just a little bit of comedy. We're a little bit like Bill Burr. I'm not trying to offend people, but sometimes the way we're just loose with our comments, it might offend some people. Understand, again, we're just doing it for entertainment's sake. Please don't cancel us here. All right, so we're pulling these units back. We've got a cav line and a dismounted cav unit in a square, right? You guys have already seen us do this. When you have too many cavalry and not enough infantry, and you want to play defensive, this is a superior way to do it. Again, you see us kiting. We're pulling our units back. They've got way, way more infantry than we do, right? So we don't want to slug it out, right? Let's let our archers work. Let's let our skirmishers work. They're now coming up and saying hi to our 2nd division. We can pull them and the cavalry back just a little bit more. Again, to quote the Batman Dark Knight series with the Batwoman when she's in prison, little closer, sweetie, right? We want these units to get closer so that they can catch a javelin in the neck, right? If you guys have never seen or don't know what the scene I'm talking about, right over your head. There's a big thug motherfucker in jail, and this little Catwoman gal, Anne Hathaway or whatever her name is, she does like a cartwheel holding onto the guy's hand and breaks his wrist. It's basically what we're doing here. The enemy thinks that they're sort of boring in for the kill, when really it's the throttling, right? Now that they're in close, it's time for all of these different units to charge, and it's everybody except the archers. In fact, actually at this stage, it's totally fine to F1, F3. You can see the power bar up top. The enemy's badly wounded already. And what charge does, of course, is every single unit aggressively moves into battle, right? They move up. We're still dropping into hell here every time we kick somebody, so we'll just let the RTS mode speed through another ass whipping here. And the loot is piling up, right? We are collecting loot faster than a bank robber here. Every 24 hours, we rob the Sturgeons of all their nice armor. We sack all their lords. They just volunteer to be taken prisoner. The Fiend Champs killed almost 40% of our total kills. And we have 53 Britannian Fiend Champs, right? And there's no hacks, no mods, no nothing. We're on Iron Man here and just instantly upgraded into a Doom stack. Now again, we're not going to keep those 53 Fiend Champs. What I'll do at some point or other, maybe this episode, is we will take a city and or a castle, and then what I'll do is I'll dump all those Fiend Champs in the garrison. We'll still have them in our army. We'll still have to pay for them, but it'll help us basically repel enemies from sieging super easy. And then at that stage, we'll start developing a more Sturgeon, or even Sturgeon entirely heavy force. Now, another one of these events that doesn't really mean a whole lot. I love the concept, but the actuality of these is not too exciting. All right, we need to sell some loot here, and I'm actually going to try to downgrade our version of Bannerlord here because it's buggy. We're falling through the floor. I can't even fight. So a little save game here, and we will be right back. All right, well, we're going to have to reload this with the previous version. Unfortunately, I spent 20 minutes uploading the previous beta, and it told me that this save game was more modern than it, and I wasn't even given the option to load it. So we are right back here. Sorry to waste your time. We still have the same mission at hand here. Collect a bunch of money, hit some cities, and then roll up through here to the back door and start our kingdom. Now I want to, because it's Iron Man, because it's somebody else's campaign, I'm going to be a little bit more prudent here. We're going to be the proverbial squirrel here and stockpile even more equipment, right? Let's go be pugnacious. Let's look for fights. Let's kick the hornet's nest here, and let's destroy more of the Sturgeons. The Sturgeons are this guy's enemy. He probably relishes us just pounding the shit out of him, so let's go look for more challenges. In fact, we might even siege a city just to provoke a huge assault where hopefully we can rack up kills, levels, experience, upgrades, a whole bunch of other stuff. Dopamine, and live happily ever after. Now we're going to continue to pile up recruits here, troops, 256 units for our army, right? So we're going to be able to make quite a nice sized force once it's all healthy. And again, I'll reiterate, probably if we get to the 3rd or 4th episode of this and we have a fief, we will use sturgeon units only. We may use mercenaries. He didn't specify that, right? Your elite hired crossbow and stuff like that, but we will try to stick to 95% sturgeons in our main army. We'll also probably make some player armies, right? Some player clan armies, or at least some companion armies, because you want an army of 600-700 once you're at this stage of the campaign, or at least 400 or 500, right? 200, it's a little bit, it could be a little dicey, right? If you're attacked by 600 now and you don't have tactics, you're in trouble. So there's some nice deserters for us to feast on here. We'll just auto-resolve this. We're trying to save your time a little bit, even though it's much less efficient. Do a few perk upgrades here, and I'm just going to do this guy's throwing here, right? You're not going to use bow. I strongly recommend, Sean, that you do throwing. Javelins, once you get to 250, is unbelievably powerful. Granted, it'll be 4 or 5 levels, before you can get up to that point, but I think it'll be a benefit. And no matter what, being able to just throw some javelins in a siege is a nice advantage. Having 18 throwing is painful. Should be able to level up relatively easy, too. And it seems to fit his campaign, right? He's running sturgeons. Ostensibly, they're the throwing kingdom, but the real throwing kingdom is the Battanians. It would have been better, actually, if they gave the sturgeons all of the skirmisher units, right? Because the sturgeon infantry is really pretty mediocre. It looks amazing, and then it just doesn't do that well. What the hell is that? This is really interesting. The villages are upgraded, but that's a brand new one. I don't know how there are sturgeon warriors in this village. There's actual foot troops, like in a city at the village, which is a change that I've been advocating for a while. In fact, I think we should be allowed to basically put troops into villages, right? You could assign 20 archers and 10 infantrymen to help defend villages. I think that would be a great addition to the game. It would function as a mini garrison, but more importantly, it would allow those villages to have a little bit more protection than just the militia. So I like that change, right? I don't know if that's Tailworlds listening to me or just the general community, or if that was a bug. Again, we're on the newest beta here. So, this is, who knows exactly what the process is. I'm notoriously poor about reading instructions. I'm that guy that spends 2 hours. In fact, if there's time in one of these, I'll tell you a funny story about the first time I ever built a wheelbarrow by hand. I'm that guy that doesn't read any directions, and hence my mistake with the early release of this beta. That was no malicious intent at all, just me being a careless dipshit. All right, so still piling up troops, and I don't know if you saw it, but we are clan tier 5, so our army is exploding in size, right? Clan tier 5, you get an extra 40 or 50 troops or something like that. Look at our minimum now, 320 something. So without even making player armies, companion armies, we've got a pretty robust force here. Now 80%, or not 80%, but 30 or 30%, 20%, maybe 80 of the troops are recruits, right? So we have a lot of guys holding up a pitchfork. But we keep upgrading, and those guys are going to rip it, right? We got 55 recruits and 23 volunteers, almost exactly what I said about 80. But they're upgrading with time, and of course we will keep raiding villages and smashing sturgeon nobles. Now, I think the best way to get a response here, the best way to get basically action, kick the hornet's nest the hardest, is to siege a castle. We can siege a city too, but one of the things to remember is that when you do eventually get attacked in this situation, the garrison may sally out. In fact, it's probable the garrison will sally out. So we don't need to be attacked by 500 defenders inside a city on top of 400 from outside, where it would be 1,200 troops or something. We'd be fucked. But 600, we can handle 6 all day, right? Twice our number, no problem. So let's kick the hornet's nest here. There's 332 in the garrison. It shouldn't take a lot for these other sturgeon forces to attack us. We'll see. Maybe it'll take a little bit. Sometimes the AI's got to build up their courage, and we do have a developing army here. It's pretty potent. There's all kinds of shit going on. Dirthird is doing his normal pugnacious shit over there. And I think maybe we need 1 or 2 more battles before I'm contented on the financial side, which is actually just fine, right? This episode can be our last sort of money gathering episode, showing you players how to gather piles of money. The easiest way, destroy your foe. The easiest way to destroy your foe is with tactics and good troops, and we're going to be able to demonstrate that here. Now, I guess we could get captured and have a huge setback. but we're pretty experienced, and with tactics, you know, you have margin for error. If you have good troops and good tactics, you can actually make a few mistakes and still win. Okay, he's just chasing down this poor caravan right in front of us. All right, well, we get the aforementioned story time here. Let's just start it. I bought a wheelbarrow like 15 years ago. I bought a new home. I went down to the hardware store. They had pre-made wheelbarrows that it said, you know, for 30 bucks more, we'll pre-make it for you. Oh shit, never mind. That'll have to wait. We're getting attacked here. That's a lot, actually. All right. Let's buckle up here. Get comfortable.
Stop there, stranger.
All right, that's maybe, you know, more than I wanted to fight, but let's see how it goes here. This area has really good battlefields for tactics. What constitutes good battlefields for tactics? Well, lots of ridges and angles and hills and blind spots, because the AI doesn't really know how to use them, and we do, right? We're going to be able to get focused fire. We're going to be able to hopefully use some reverse slope declines, and we'll do plenty of kiting here because, of course, the enemy is going to pour at us like Black Friday shoppers and just try to knock everybody over. They're going to come with straight brute force, and what a beautiful spot here. We've got hills, exactly what I was hoping for, hills and ridges, and there's a couple reverse slope decline areas. In fact, our starting position is a reverse slope decline. So let's see how we do this. One of the things I like to do is have a forward archer division with a skirmisher division on their flank. Basically, as the enemy comes in, you kite the archers right into the fire of your skirmishers. We've got a lot of archers, right? 140. We've got twice as many archers as infantry. So, not quite twice, almost twice. We've got a crossbow division for the left side over here. I've mentioned them before. They'll run out of ammo early on. We'll hold fire with them early on, but they will also turn very quickly into infantry, a square, or maybe they'll attack a flank. On this right side is going to be the buttress, strongest part of our army. The 5th Corps, that's good archers. The 7th Corps is our best archers. In fact, most of that 7th Corps is probably Fiend champions. So, you know, a little bit of Fiend spam here. You're going to see a huge amount of death spam from those Fiends. 900 troops. If we win this, they'll kill half of them. That would be a good bet. All right, so get some of these pathetic, get some of Sean's really nice looking companions distributed here. Sean's, you know, he's developing in a very hardcore mode here with the Iron Man. I'll remind you, right, these are Iron Man. We cannot reload, right? We just, whatever happens in these battles happens, and we're doing our best here to make sure that we don't make ourselves look like an asshole. We're obviously being, you know, we're being prudent. We're not just rushing into battle here. That's why I'm taking the extra minute or two. This part remains painful, but let's show you what I would do here. If you're playing on foot in a big battle like this, go to the back of your army and look for a ridge. You must be able to see everything. That's the biggest advantage you get from a horse. We could speed it up here a little bit with the RTS mod, but I need a good vantage point, right? There's a nice little slope right here. The 4th and 6th Corps, the 4th is on our far right and the 6th is right here in the center. They will hold fire. We will open fire later with them. In fact, the skirmishers can support the cavalry on our right. Let's also move our infantry over towards that cavalry on our left. That 1st division can support the cavalry, right? When the enemy cavalry charges our cavalry, it's nice to have a counter charge, and in this case, it can be these 2 infantry wings. And we've got this crossbow unit. Pretty much as soon as the enemy is in sight here, we can open fire. And the arrows start flying, right? The Fiends start working. These few infantry that are coming up to the cav division over here, what I actually like to do in that instance is just have those guys charge. It's 30 cavalry, maybe one of those guys gets killed, but they're also going to avoid getting killed because they're moving. I mentioned that before. Your shock troops, enemy shock troops, and initial infantry line will damage your cavalry. Better just to move them. Now over there, I don't know if you see it, their sneaky cavalry thinks they can flank me. Well, I've got this radar vision in a perfect spot to view them. We've quickly rotated that cav division to face them. Now the skirmishers get shifted, right? We're going to bring the skirmishers up here and retreat this 7th division. They've been out front. They've been doing damage. I wanted them close. They're also bait. And the reason you use your best archers out front is, first, they're a little bit more protected from cavalry, but also they're going to have the highest athleticism. So as they start kiting, they're going to be able to move back quickly. Now the enemy's pouring in here a lot faster than I anticipated, and this is a new thing. The AI does not shield walls readily with the beta. That makes this strategy a little bit harder. So opening up the center here, 4th and 5th kited. In fact, this 5th has got a beautiful ridge right here we can bring them to. Just get this skirmisher division out of the way. You notice I'm moving one archer division at a time. So we pulled the 5th division, or the 7th division back, while the 5th division is scorching the enemy, right? That way, if they charge without their shields up, they're shot in the face. Now the skirmishers pushing over there. And my position's going to become tenuous here, right? The zombie Zerg is going to start roaring up on the hill. On the first side, on the far side there, the cavalry and infantry are charging. And on some level, the infantry is going to collide with their infantry. That's good for us, right? Because their infantry, if they keep pursuing, are going to get attacked from behind by our infantry. Now let's back up over this ridge here. I'm going to have to move. These guys are pouring in on us. I can't get hit with a javelin here in one shot. But what a position, right? Now we're over the edge of this ridge. This is going to pull us out of the range of their archers. On that far side over there, the infantry and cavalry are kind of on autopilot. I'm also bringing the other cavalry division that was on our initial right towards us. I want it actually jamming behind the enemy. What I would love to do is turn the enemy around and have them face all these cavalrymen instead of charging these archers. In fact, that's what it looks like happening. Look at how the enemy stopped. That's because cavalry and infantry are coming on the other side, and look at where they are. They're totally pinned against that ridge while our unmolested archers just work. Let's get these skirmishers moved in. And the archers are just firing into packed troops that have cavalry impinging them on the other side. It's a shooting gallery. Now they're killing cavalrymen, right? Those cavalrymen are all going to die. But a lot of sturgeons are going with them, right? These guys are being fucking flayed. It's the most important thing, right? In Bannerlord, protect your archers. If you do nothing else but protect your archers, you're going to win a lot of battles. Now, I'm still really tempted to get a horse. She can't get on any horse. Maybe she has 0 riding skill. I didn't look. She might have 0. Maybe you can get on a sumpter horse, right, or something. All right, so that's done a beautiful job, right? The enemy infantry is totally swirled up by our infantry. Now, our skirmishers are moving up. They're going to get killed too, probably. We can square them here. Okay, the enemy's sort of surging back towards our skirmishers. They're low on javelins. Let's keep using those guys, right? Let's put them in a square and put them in that little nook right there. What that'll do is that'll prevent them from being shot by archers. The enemy infantry probably will attack them. If they don't, we'll come have them charge behind the enemy here. The enemy's really confused what to do. They don't probably know. They're being kited by elite archers and scorched. These archers can both charge. Now, the reason you're doing that is I do see some guys just holding up their little hatchet. We might as well at least have them joining the fray here. And that skirmisher division's doing a good job in a square, right? Our handful of cavalry can just kind of cycle charge here. The enemy's being scorched still by archers. The Fiend champs are mangling everything. I'm trying not to fight so I don't fall through the floor. That's the easiest way to get around these little bugs, is just to not engage. At some point or other, we'll be fighting vigorously in this series. Yeah, there we go. We fall right to the next nether region. In fact, the units seem to fall in. Now the enemy, okay, so everybody gets pulled back here. No reason to charge. Why do you not charge here? It's very simple. The enemy does not have a lot of archers, right? Why present our archers to their infantry, right? Make their archer or infantry come over this ridge where our archers can have line of sight, right? And we'll just pull all these guys back in fast speed. You can see there's a lot of guys there that don't have shields, recruits and whatnot, because we've already wasted their high-end troops. Now we can spread all these archers out, have the cavalry sort of off to the side to cycle charge. And as they come in here, they're going to get flayed with archers, charged by cavalry, and then anybody else that has a sword and no arrows left can charge, right? And they just melt. Of course, at this stage, it's mostly weak troops. There's recruits here getting run over by horses. They're falling through the floor. Apologies for this, but this is the kind of thing that happens as a content creator. And don't forget, these are Iron Man. I can't just reload his save game. So we're just going to go with it. Fortunately, it hasn't altered battle too dramatically. I don't actually need to fight here in these battles for us to win. Tactics alone have won the day. In fact, it looks like they're reforming around the edge here, or they're routing. Let's see if they're routing. We might as well just blow them out the battlefield. Yeah, that's routing behavior. And there you go, almost 900 sturgeons, not just beat, but they got waxed, right? These guys got pummeled real bad. That was a gangster-style video battle right here. I mean, they're fleeing to their hovels. And I bet we have half of our army up still. Close to half anyways. We had 200 casualties, so about 40% of our army is still up. Look at the Fiend chaps. Yeah, they're not OP at all, right? And when I say they're OP, people are like, oh, they're good, they're decent, but they're not OP. Yeah, it's a 480 to 1 kill ratio. That seems, it's very balanced, right? I think. objectively balanced, 480 to 1. Maybe the Khans Guards could obtain that. No other unit in the game can obtain that, right? They're wildly OP. You want my solution to reducing archers in Bannerlord generally? Should make them less accurate. Not more accurate, less accurate, right? They actually made them more accurate with the beta. That really is like pouring gas all over the fire, hoping it puts it out. It does not. It blows everything up. And, well, anyways, so we'll use it here. By the way, it would not have been dramatically different if we just had Sturgeon Tier 5 archers. It would have taken a little longer, but we still win that battle, and hopefully we can demonstrate that in this series. The bottom line is that archers in Bannerlord are way too powerful. Spear cavalry is way too weak. It remains that way. Infantry's kind of right in the middle. Infantry's very important, but if you had to choose, an army of 60% infantry and 40% archers, or 40% infantry and 60% archers, I know for sure which one I'm taking. It's automatically more archers. All right, so I don't actually care about this garrison here, so I don't really want to leave a bunch of troops in here. We're going to head southeast and sell some loot. We take that castle because the garrison sallied out and got slaughtered. So I guess it's like the militia throw up their hands and say, fine, you could be our leader. But that was quick, right? That was just a punishing ass whipping for the Sturgeons and a gigantic pile of loot, right? We look like the Grinch and his little dog or whatever, lugging our sled full of loot to the local cities. And we're going to be able to hit 3 or 4 cities. What is it? Diathma, Argaron. There's a couple more on the way up to Tayal. We're going to be rich by the time we get home. In fact, this episode is kind of over as far as battles. Unless we run into a Sturgeon army that's an opportunity for us to attack, we're gonna... I don't want to do this. Let's just show you the loot. We'll just show you a couple of these battles. And I'll talk a little bit more about strategy. When you're at this stage, right, we're basically... Oh, shit. Well, here's a challenge for you. 1,600. Right, we've got fiends. We've got like 60 fiends, right? All right, you guys want to see a badass challenge? Let's go ahead and slaughter. Look at this pathetic little force of 1,600. That's it? Nah, I'm just kidding with you fellas. We can't fight that. Tactics has a limit, and it certainly would be exceeded by that. You just eventually get ran over. It was already audacious. Fighting 900, 1,600 is a no-go, especially since we're banged up. But the strategy at this stage, right? We're going to collect some money here. We should be at 250, 300,000 by the time we get up to Tayal. I'm not sure I want to take Tayal because that would mean we have to declare war on the Khazate. That would be my goal, is to take Tayal. So maybe eventually I would suggest Sean, if you're listening. Of course he's listening. These are his episodes. Maybe they don't listen. I don't know. Not everybody who sends an episode in for the Disaster of War series listens. If that is your intention, is to eventually fight the Khazate, I would recommend you take Tayal, right? Tayal is an outstanding location for defense. We can add this companion here, and I'll probably save a lot of the gearing up of these units, right? We've got to put some nice gear on some of his companions. We've certainly got the gear to do it, but we're going to go from city to city here, getting 50, 60,000, and I think we'll take Sibir, right? Sibir. Maybe we'll take a castle first. But once we have sort of our forces all together, then we can start hyper recruiting troops. In fact, I may even do it beforehand. We may do one of those little player armies. And then we're going to start opening up war on the Sturgeons from east to west, right? We're basically going to cruise through Varnavapol, Sibir, maybe take a couple castles. And then I'm going to turn it back over to you, brother. We're going to give this game back to Sean. There's a possibility that the Iron Man is disabled. I don't know. The RTS mod doesn't seem like it disabled it, but it might say that achievements are disabled. I don't mean that the game is disabled, but rather if you're one of those guys who gives a shit about achievements, I think we might, we might have fucked you here. All right, I'm also going to do this too, right? The troops have fought hard, right? How do you reward them? With a feast, right? The game doesn't have feasts, but let's go ahead and make sure they have all 9 food items. Of course, that also helps your character because it boosts your steward skill. It's based on the amount of different types of food you have and the size of your army. So if you have both, you're getting tons of steward points, steward skill. And we'll just do one item at a time here. What I mean by that is one category. So this is strictly ranged weapons and shields, and instantly we get all the money in the town here, 70 grand, right? This is just, the money is pouring in. We can buy some horses for fun. And it remains the best way to make money in Bannerlord is combat. You can smith, right? But this guy set the rule that he can't smith. So clearly money is going to have to be won through fighting. And that's the greatest thing for me and the channel here, is that is what we do. Tactical Enlightenment. We're going to teach you guys to devastate the enemy on the battlefield. So, of course, you want to subscribe. Please hit that like button on the way out, friends. There's more of this series coming. With all that said, I'll see you fellas next time.